My name's Phil Higgins, and this is Onsite Live. Recently, Ventures Onsite hosted a webinar titled The Consultant Connection, The Art of Being Specified. And in this presentation, we take a close look at the role a consulting architect plays in the construction process today, and we identify 10 suggestions on how you can remain more closely connected to the consulting community for your product specification and supplier approval. This is the full presentation and is about 20 minutes long, so grab a coffee and kick back. We hope you enjoy The Consultant Connection, The Art of Being Specified. For the past 30 years, my job has been associated with either meeting consultants for product specification or managing teams of others to do the same. During this time, I've observed some changes to the architectural role, but for the most part, architects today are the same as they were back then. What's changed, however, is the type of projects that are being designed. Projects today are simply more complex and so have a different degree of construction difficulty. The architectural design needs to contend with different considerations today for environmental and sustainable and government legislation concerns. This simply makes the architect's job so much more demanding today than ever before. I think these design changes are the reason why it seems that consultants simply don't have the time to meet or talk with you today about the different products that are available. They're just too busy and restrict who they allow through the office door. And to be honest, it wasn't like this 30 years ago. If you called, they would see you. In the construction industry today, there are so many more products that are used in the construction process. And for each product, there are more suppliers of the same product. The architectural process today, being so complex, means that the consultant would need to interact with thousands of different products, and each product having a multitude of supplier options. To the architect, you are just one more of those options. These demands mean that the consultant just doesn't have time to meet with everyone. Everyone's personality is different, but over the years, I've come to appreciate, generally speaking, most architects are a unique breed, a combination of a creative, artistic painter who talks in colors and light, not just simple words. They may be a person who sometimes seem lost in their own thoughts, visualizing the creative options, but at the same time, a person who is able to provide an understanding to the most complex of engineering detail. I know a person like this can be rather complex. It's the architect's job to have a general knowledge of the entire construction process and not be afraid to express his personal or professional opinion for any product option. His first observations then are always going to be for the aesthetic, the color, the light. Does this product look right? And then his observations are more for the design. Will this product fit the project design that I'm working with? But always there will be this consideration for quality. Will this product last the test of time? Architects generally are very focused people. And so we need to understand that there's often a timeline to the design and engineering process. If the consultant is focused on the design of a specific element of a project, your timing to meet with him simply may not suit his need. If you're selling kitchens and he's in the process of designing structural foundations, then he simply may not want to meet with you today. So before you proceed with making an appointment to meet with an architect, you need to create the right story that's going to attract his attention. If your introduction starts with a sales representative, you can rest assured that your chances to secure an appointment are going to be rather slim, because the consultant is looking for design, technical support, and quality alternatives. And so your introduction of yourself needs to intentionally gain his attention to open the door. The title Architectural Services Manager or Director of Technical Services has much more sway in the process to make an appointment. Your product or service type will also limit or improve your effort to secure a meeting. You need to recognize this. Some products simply have appeal and others don't, and your timing within the design stage is going to be very important. Let me explain. Let's say you're an architectural glass technical service representative for an international leading glass manufacturer. I'll use that because that was my industry for a long time. And at the time you call to make an appointment, the consultant is visualizing the aesthetics and design of a new high-rise iconic tower that he or she has been commissioned to design. And the scope of this design is to utilize the latest sustainable technologies. Do you think he will see you? Absolutely, for sure. Because right at that time, he's thinking about color, he's thinking about light, building heat loads, new cooling techniques. Of course he wants to see you. Now then, at the same time, he gets a call from a water pump salesman who works for a local distributor. Clearly the response from the consultant's going to be different. Okay, so you've created a title that's more technical than sales. You've identified the right time to meet with the consultant, eventually secured a meeting. You need to recognize that there is a vast difference between a salesman and a technical person. In my 20s, I was a technical advisor for a company in Australia, but I really wanted to be in sales. But the sales manager wouldn't give me a break in sales, saying that I was too technical to be in sales, and that I needed to learn how to speak people-ease before I could be a good salesman. Now, at the time, this was very difficult for me to hear these comments, but it was really good advice that I've never forgotten. It's the same in reverse for a salesman who needs to be more technical. But if you can find the right combination of both technical and sales, you'll be a powerful communicator. Sometimes it's difficult to change from one hat to the other, technical and sales, but if you can learn to wear both hats, being able to provide the technical talk as well as the people-ease style of communication, then you'll be very successful. As an architectural representative, your communication style then needs to be completely different. Your presentation of the product features and benefits will take on a totally different meaning when you're talking to a consultant. Anything you can add to support the technical knowledge base of your product, explaining the value or the benefits, will be heard. It's a matter of finding the right communication style and the balance that suits you and your product. If you have multiple product options, different color, design, performance, etc., you need to limit the choice by asking questions about the project design and offering a limited range for review. The architectural glass representative might ask, what is the overall aesthetic of the project design? Or if there is, an image showing the design of the project, you could ask, why have you chosen a blue concept for this project? This engages the consultant to interact and share some of the design idea or concept. It shows your interest to his world of design and engineering. Your questions and the consultant's responses will provide you the opportunity to refine your product options to present a more specific range of products that will give you the opportunity to discuss the values, benefits, and features of each option. Over time, you will build a relationship with the consultant. That is, if you can demonstrate your support for technical contribution. The consultant may not know the engineering specifics of every product, and so there are times when the consultant needs to consult with a specialist. Your objective is to become that specialist, the go-to guy for your specific product. This is only possible when you can demonstrate your worth, and this requires more than just technical knowledge. Your style, your punctuality, your ability to respond in good time, the way you dress, and your enthusiastic attitude for support of your product. You may not think these things are very important, but I can assure you they matter most. The architectural consultant is a professional person who is disciplined and focused and meticulous to the smallest details. Your interaction needs to be respectful to this sort of personality or professional style. The development of an architectural services department within your company needs to recognize the long-term tracking efforts required for each project. The difficulty for most companies is the high expectation for sales results that justifies the architectural specification process. A sales result could be years away depending upon the project stage and size. It's important that you develop a suitable tracking system, a system that monitors your results but also shows your effort. For every meeting with a consultant, there is a major effort required both before and after the meeting. And so using a suitable tracking or reporting system will help you and your boss understand and justify the time and effort that has been invested in the process. So this system should document all your phone calls, emails, submissions, meetings, sample requests, everything that is associated to the project and the project follow-up. So here are my top 10 tips for what you need to do to improve your specification efforts. Number 1, follow the project. Be specific with your meeting. Calling to just meet a consultant to generally talk about your product has less impact than calling to meet with the lead consultant for a specific project. Each project usually has a lead architectural consultant appointed to manage the project design. Your objective should be to secure the appointment with him or her to talk about the approved specification of your product. Number 2, make an appointment. Everything we've discussed today is only possible when you have an appointment secured, but getting to that stage requires significant effort and follow-up to break down the barriers. You need some very smart phone skills and a confident style to get through to the right contact. Develop a systematic approach and expect to make a few phone calls initially. Your first call should be to confirm or secure information for the contact details of the lead consultant for the project. You first need to know his or her name. If the consultant's direct phone number or email's protected, then explain you would like to send an email of introduction because you know Mr. Architect, let's call him Bob. Bob the Architect is very busy. You need to play it smart and with confidence to secure as much information as you can. If you're directed to the company email address, let's say info@architect.com, then you might ask if you could send the email directly to the receptionist, and that way your email could be resent to the right contact. You could explain that you know that most info@email accounts don't get read. Whatever address is provided, send the email straight away. On your second call, you now have Bob's name and so can confidently ask to be transferred to Bob the Architect. Surprisingly, by knowing Bob's name and not having to go through the questions and the answer routine, you will have increased your chances of being transferred through to Bob. If you're questioned further about your intentions, then you're able to say something like, "Hi, my name's Phil Higgins. I'm following up with Bob regarding the ABC project that he's working on. I sent him an email the other day regarding new technical developments of our water pump products, and I need to review this with him." Your communication is honest and it's delivered with confidence. Number 3, be ready with your email introduction. Whether you speak with Bob or not, you need to be ready with a prepared communication that introduces your company. And this should be a brief 1 or 2 paragraph communication. Otherwise, it simply may not be read. You can attach a file with a more detailed overview of your company profile or your product, but don't overdo the words in the initial email. Develop a template format that can be used for each email introduction, but make sure you personalize the introduction or refer to a specific discussion. Number 4, if you have a dual role, sales and architectural representative, allocate your time between each role. Some companies have full-time dedicated architectural representatives. Yet most companies expect the salesman to manage a dual role for both sales and architectural representation. If this is the case, then I'd suggest that you try to structure your time so that you give focus to your architectural representation. Maybe 1 or 2 days a week, as much or as little time as required. Number 5. Know the difference between specified and approved supplier. Securing specific brand specification today is not so easy. Architects are reluctant and very cautious to be specific to one and one only product option. If a brand is used, there is also a qualifying note for or similar added. Product specification details can often qualify your product over your competition with technical uniqueness. Your technical support provided to the consultant should then be geared towards aspects of your product that support your qualification. Most large consulting offices have an allocated specification writer whose role is to compile the specification details for each item of the construction phase. Coordination with the specification writer might be necessary to ensure your product details are included. You should also note that being approved as a supplier is more important these days than specification. Being included to the approved suppliers list is much easier before a project is released for construction tender than it is afterwards. To be included as an approved supplier, you might need to provide your product samples, your company and technical profile, details about your product, and follow through the process to ensure that you are both approved and included in the specification documents. You can't just take for granted that you will be on the list. Fortunately, though, that once you are on the list, there's a good chance that your company and your product will be included for future projects that are released by that consulting firm. But not always, so stay connected for each project. Number 6, create your pitch. Don't forget to create your story or your pitch to be as interesting and as technical as possible. Find ways to make your product more desirable than it is, especially if it's not so sexy. Number 7, just as you would know your customer, you need to know your consultant. Be considerate to the type of person you're dealing with. Consultants are a bit unique, and so make sure you adjust your style to suit. Number 8, if you don't know, don't be afraid to say, "I don't know, but I'll get back to you." Architects can smell it when somebody is just faking it and making up stories to cover over unknown facts. If you don't know the answer to a technical question, don't waffle on, and don't be afraid to simply say, "I don't know." But assure the consultant that you will review the point and you'll get back with a response. Now take this opportunity to learn for yourself. Your reply will give you the opportunity to demonstrate to the consultant your support and create some follow-up discussion. Number 9, develop a lead tracking system. We discussed this point earlier, but it's really important. Create a suitable tracking system to be in Excel or some CRM system, whatever method you use. You need to be able to follow the stages of each project through the sales opportunity. Don't take for granted that being specified will result in an order. Follow each project closely. The Ventures on-site platform allows you to flag projects that will keep you updated with each development stage of the project. Number 10, take notes. Now this is my final point, and it may sound a little bit old school, but I have never met an architect who uses his mobile phone to take notes. In fact, most have a pen in hand and a notepad open during every meeting. So do yourself a service and do the same. Taking notes shows a keen attitude to following up items and shows your interest in the consultant's project needs. Tapping away at your phone can send wrong signals, and if not explained, or even if it is, can be perceived that you are more interested in checking your email or your Facebook likes than you are supporting the project's design. In fact, try turning off your phone and keeping it out of sight. So there you go, my top 10 tips on how you can remain more closely connected to the architectural community for your product specification
and supply approval. This video is brought to you by Ventures OnSite, the Middle East's leading construction intelligence platform, where we believe that if you stay informed, you'll stay competitive. Thanks for joining us. This is the first in our Be Informed series of webinars, and so if you subscribe or send us an email, we'll keep you updated with our future presentations. My name's Phil Higgins for Ventures OnSite Live. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.